Good afternoon, SpeedGaming. We have our next HMG tournament match. This time, Doomtap versus krithel. Should be starting any second. So, for anyone that's not familiar to HMG, this is the randomizer with glitches in the logic, which is overworld glitches, so we're seeing our players flipping around the world, as well as several underworld glitches. Okay, hopefully I'm no longer a robot. You'll have to let me know if I am. So we're just getting started now. So I was just saying this is a link to the past randomizer with glitches. So this is HMG, which means we allow overworld glitches. We'll see our players clipping around the whole overworld, and we include several underworld clips in the logic as well. This allows us to access Palace of Darkness before anything. This is a Sphere 0 check for us. Allows us to skip the entry requirements for fire into Ice Palace, and most notably makes Misery Mire, Tower of Hera, and Swamp Palace one large traversable dungeon, with the logical implications being that we might need to open Swamp Palace from Misery Mire using one of the small keys. So we see our two runners going slightly different ways. Doomtap heading west, going to check out the Lost Woods, and krithel heading towards Saha, getting a few quick checks in here, finding the flute and a sword, a nice early weapon for krithel. We do see powder on Lumberjack on Doom's side, so we'll see if that's required, but with a bit of luck we won't need it. So as I was saying, these glitches will be required in this seed, most likely, and I mentioned that krithel has a sword now. One of the things we often do very early is head up to the mountain. We can get into Tower of Hera with no equipment. Having that sword could possibly mean we can defeat Moldorm there, but as I mentioned, with these 3 dungeons being kind of one super dungeon, the big key for Tower of Hera may also not be available, and you may be required to open the big key door from Misery Mire. So we'll see what the situation is as we get there. So we see krithel heading through the Lost Woods, and Doomtap is doing our first clip heading up to Death Mountain from this screen here. This clip here puts us into the entrance of the Old Man Rescue Cave, which we're going to navigate through in the dark, and we'll pop out in our normal location. But that bypasses the glove requirement for this by wrapping around the screen and jumping off the ledge that would be the Light World bumper ledge. You can see Doomtap tapping the dash button every now and again just to locate himself. It's one of the best ways to do it if you don't have a sword. krithel, meanwhile, is going to head to Kakariko. There are still many items here. krithel, of course, has the flute, so we'll be able to activate that when we're in Kakariko. Sometimes people will put this off until you have a bottle as well, clear out the whole village in one go. But there are a lot of items here, so... See Doomtap continuing on with a very common play off of the mountain, rescue the old man, and then we jump off the bottom of the mountain to check Graveyard Ledge here. Again, another check in logic and accessible right at the beginning of the game for us. So just a shovel out of Blindsight on krithel side, and nothing too much being found on Doomtap's side right now. Doomtap's going to drop down the hole here, and because we clipped off the mountain, this is going to put us into the Houlihan room, which is actually going to give us the ability to pick up 225 rupees, which is very nice to begin with, particularly because we also usually do the water checks very early, so by finding a little bit more money we can check Zora. And otherwise we have money for bomb or arrow upgrades or potions, most likely. Okay, Krithel in the well finds Quake and the hookshot. So with the hookshot, we can actually use that to get into Tower of Hera, the full dungeon. We can use Herapot. That is not in logic, but it is something that we see people do more often than not. This does save you doing that whole navigation from Misery Maya. Activate that flute, and Doomtap's going to head over and get their sword and flute as well. So some of the interesting things with this mode is also possible moonpole locations. So because of the glitches that we allow, particularly the overworld and underworld glitches we allow, moonpole can be in several locations. Palace of Darkness is one. It can also be inside of Ice Palace, although Ice Palace requires the mitts still in this mode. But we do include fake flippering in logic, so we don't need flippers, we don't need the fire requirement. So that moonpole can be an Ice Palace purely with a strong fire source. Krithel finds our first bottle of the seed in the back of Tavern, as close as we can possibly get it to Sick Kid to hand in. So is going to be able to fully clear out Kakariko village, minus that powder which we know is sitting on Lumberjack. Second bottle. Missed the first one. Thanks, holy smoke, our tracker keeping track of the items better than I am. We had a vanilla bottle merchant. So Doom is going to catch up with Krithel. We're going to see another clip here from Krithel heading down to Desert Palace now. Save us walking all the way around the world. We just jump off the bottom here. And we can check the items here. Did see that we have all 3 crystals in the light world, so we are going to want to clear out all of these dungeons at some point. The goal remains the same, despite the fact that we allow glitches. Find and kill all 7 crystal bosses and get all 7 crystals, defeat Aghanim 2, and then kill Ganon. A rarer occurrence is that sometimes we can see people collecting pendants from the wrong dungeons. For example, if Misery Maya is the green pendant dungeon, instead of clearing Misery Maya, we can just clip to Hera and collect that pendant from the Moldorm arena. This can make handing in that green pendant a lot quicker than navigating the whole dungeon. That is not in logic, but it is allowed. But for the crystals, we have to both kill the boss and obtain the prize. So Krithel's just heading through desert here. Found one of the items. Gonna look for the second one. We did get the big key early. We don't have a fire source, so we're not going to be clearing out Desert Palace just yet. The entrance to the back is blocked by a glove, but again, a quick overworld glitch lets us get past that glove requirement, so we just need a weapon and a fire source to be able to kill off Lammo and complete Desert Palace. We're often back in the area later, hopefully with a mirror, so it can be much quicker to put it off if we want to. So this is a very, very common opening route that we're both following here. A lot of high density checks in this area, a lot of quick navigation to get some what would normally be out of the way checks, but in this mode completely in logic. Krithel is going to check that shovel spot and finds half magic. Can be quite nice, depending on which items we find. Meanwhile, Doomtap going to follow off what Krithel did. Now, Doomtap has rescued the old man and checked Graveyard Lich, which Krithel hasn't done yet, but I'm pretty sure we'll see Krithel do that soon. We typically use the old man save quit spot a lot. It is a kind of a hub that lets us get to a lot of the light world and dark world. There is that portal to the dark world on Death Mountain, and we can glitch our way off of the Dark World Death Mountain to the regular Dark World, meaning we have no requirements to get down there except the Moon Pearl. Or not the Moon Pearl if you know the Citrus Clip, which is not in logic, but can speed up some routing depending on where you're going. Yep, and so we see krithel taking the flute to Death Mountain instead of clipping up. It's of course much faster now that we have that activated. Sometimes we, myself and many others, don't activate the flute early. Don't activate the flute if you get it late, sorry, because yeah, at that point you've already done a lot of your navigation, but getting it this early, activating it can make things quite a bit faster. So this is going to square up the two runners after Doomtap finishes this and the few desert checks, and after krithel has saved the old man. So we've got a few choices of where to go after this. We've got the water checks, we've got South Shore, the rest of Death Mountain is another option. And a quick dive into Hera. So we didn't see Doomtap go into Hera, but krithel may want to do that with our hookshot, and is indeed where he's heading. So we can see in the basement we just have a map, and we'll quickly see what this lobby chest has. If this is not the big key or the small key, that means the Tower of Hera is locked by Misery Maya, and it is the Gain of Samaria, aptly while we're talking about Misery Maya. So logically, to defeat Tower of Hera, we are required to go through Misery Maya, using the Misery Maya big key to open up the big key door in Tower of Hera, and then re-navigate the dungeon. But with that hookshot, we can do a quick Hera pot and bypass that requirement. So we did also see krithel spoke to Sahashala and found out that our green pendant is Swamp Palace. Swamp Palace is the more complicated one for entry requirements, what with that small key being having a 9 out of 10 chance of being locked away in the dungeon itself. There are a few different options that people will use for opening the dungeon. You can come from Tower of Hera or from Misery Maya. The Tower of Hera small key is never logically supposed to be used to open the Swamp Palace door, and if you do not know what you're doing, you can potentially lock yourself out of the dungeon. krithel finds the second item on Moldorm, gets the bug net there, and Doomtap meanwhile is heading towards South Shore. So we get the question in chat, is the hookshot required in logic? It is not in logic for major glitches. We get a very early pearl. Doomtap has found the moon pearl in the budded item, and that opens up most of the dark world for us as well. krithel finds the bow in Spectacle Rock Cave, giving us a nice hover across the gap backwards and forwards. Yeah, so Hera pot is legal, but it's not in logic. In case I didn't finish my sentence. krithel heading across the land bridge on Death Mountain to bypass the requirement for the hammer pegs. I myself typically go above the clouds here, as opposed to up the diagonal. Both are very good choices. In this case, we see our third bottle of the seed on Floating Island. We can get access to that, but we are going to skip it for now. Probably for the rest of the seed. 2 bottles is more than enough, most likely. Doomtap picking up that Cane of Samaria, and it's also going to head up Tower of Hera, clear out the rest of the dungeon. And krithel, meanwhile, is going to head into Paradox Cave. So for krithel, we don't have too much left after this. We do find the lamp and we have the bow. Eastern is a crystal, so it's quite possible we head there straight after this. But then we have South Shore and the castle are pretty much our options left. Bow putting all of Eastern Palace in logic. The bow and the lamp, sorry. And the fire rod, so we get 2 fire sources from Paradox Cave today. And we're going to use that flute that we've got to move around nice and quickly. And indeed, we're heading straight to Eastern Palace here. There's a nice small little clip we can do coming from Flute 5 to skip this rock and enter Eastern Palace quite quickly, which krithel is going to show us. And Doomtap showing us another way to get the bow from Spectacle Rock Cave rather than hovering or going the normal way. We can use this corner slope to clip in, and a quick down teleport moves us to the set of stairs we need to go get the item. There's also a bomb clip to do that, but Doomtap doing it the manual clip way. Shows us the bomb jump backwards. Okay, so Doomtap changing their mind, not going to go to East Death Mountain, and instead is going to go to East Darkworld Death Mountain. One of the benefits of having that Moon Pearl from South Shore already. We see that our pendants are Ice Palace, Swamp Palace, and Thieves Town. So, Thieves Town is another dungeon we see people enter quite early, what with it being clearable with just any kind of melee weapon, or Cane of Samaria in this case, but when it's a pendant, we'll often see people just do the first 4 checks, hope for a couple of items, and then leave, come back later. So Doomtap is going to head down here. We don't have the glove to get into the front of Hookshot Cave, but we can use a small clip here to instead wrap the screen and end up on the top of the screen, letting us enter the back side of Hookshot Cave. We need a couple of bombs. Not be the first runner to get stuck with only having 1 bomb coming this way, but with a couple of bombs we can then get into the back of Hookshot Cave. And with that hookshot, no hovering required, we get all 4 items from in here. Nice spacewalk from Doomtap, skipping the falling off of the ledge. Much quicker to do it this way. And krithel is finishing up our Eastern Palace, heading to the boss after clearing out the rest of the dungeon. We see Turtle Rock is Ether Medallion for entry, and Doomtap is gonna Scudge Woods here. So I've talked about wrapping the screen. This time we're wrapping the entire map. We are gonna jump off the right side of the screen here, transition, and this is gonna put us on the very left-hand side of the screen. We have to be very careful not to move right, even a single pixel here, before we get in the room, but Doomtap does it nicely done, and puts us in Skullwoods already. Now, unfortunately, Doomtap is missing the fire rod from Paradox Cave because they chose to go to the Darkworld Death Mountain instead. So, having that fire rod would have made this a really exceptional trip. krithel clears up Eastern Palace, taking the first crystal of the seed, and not finding too much else, unfortunately. Meanwhile, Doomtap is gonna... Second crystal, indeed, Sleevey. We finished Hera already. That would be rather impressive to find a second fire rod in Skullwoods in this mode. But a man can dream. So krithel heads to South Shore with that flute, picks up his Moon Pearl, and is going to get all of the money out of Mini Moldorm Cave. We haven't seen either runner do the rest of the water checks yet. Okay, Doomtap gets that second item and heads out of Skullwood's going to head to Village of Outcasts. Potentially checking Bumper Ledge before we head down there. So krithel is going to flute away. And we're going to head back to the mountain. That Moon Pearl in hand, most likely going to follow up with what Doomtap's just done. Checking out Super Bunny and Hookshot Cave, and then deciding where to go from there. I mentioned that we saw the Ether Medallion for Turtle Rock. We are very unlikely to go in the front of Turtle Rock. We have much better ways into Turtle Rock that are much faster. And even if you want to leave afterwards, it is questionable whether it saves you time to actually open it. Doomtap getting 350 rupees out of the chess game, so we are fully loaded. Can't think that we're going to need any more money from this seed. Another 300 in the brewery. It's all money everywhere today, and we are fully skipping Thieves Town. We're not even going to check the front four here. Without the mirror, you would be inclined to Death Warp. However, in this particular mode, if you die in a Dark World dungeon before you have defeated Aga 1, it will put you in Fake Dark World, meaning as soon as you take an overworld transition, you will be in the Light World instead. Doomtap obviously wants to continue the navigation that they're doing. Heading down to Misery Maya, going to check that medallion requirement and get the Maya Shed check done. But so the consequence of not wanting to Death Warp in Thieves Town is having to run all the way out, which can be quite slow. We see it as Bombos for Misery Maya from Doomtap's side. We use those iframes from jumping in the water to bypass the sparks and get a bit more health. krithel is finishing off that Hookshot Cave and Super Bunny loop. And Doomtap is going to continue with the South Dark World loop here. Check out Stumpy into Hype Cave, potentially up to the pyramid afterwards. We do get a glove off of Stumpy. And there is not much that I don't think there's anything that the glove hard locks for us. We have glitches that are legal that we can get around from most things. So krithel, instead of heading to Skull Woods, heads down to Catfish instead. That's the other place you most often see people coming from Turtle Rock. This is a really far out of the way check, so if you're in the area, it makes a lot of sense. We get blue mail for our efforts. It's going to help, considering we're only on 7 hearts. And Doomtap shows us where our 4th bottle is in Hype Cave, with a fairy in it, so we're going to want to keep that in mind later. krithel is now heading to Palace of Darkness, so the clip that we've just done wraps us round to the top of Death Mountain and lets us get into Spectacle Rock Cave, the bottom. And this cave is the one that we use for clipping into Palace of Darkness. We actually wrap the whole underworld map in this case from bottom to top, putting us in Palace of Darkness. Now, logically, other than that, Palace of Darkness is designed to be done normally, but we'll open this first door to save ourselves a small key, potentially saving some navigation. Doomtap has skipped the hammer requirement for the bridge by doing a funny auto walk thing or a fort, and is going to be checking Pyramid Fairy here. There's a swim clip. Using a diagonal slope, we can swim into it, change direction, and swim just all the way through the terrain. Gives us that peak of the pyramid ledge, seeing it's just a blue rupee, and lets us enter the Pyramid Fairy here. We do require the Moon Pearl to do this. If you don't have the Moon Pearl, when you exit, you will splash out. But we find Ether, and we get a free fairy back, and we get our Master Sword. We did also just see on krithel's side the Ice Rod in Shooter Room in Pod. So we are starting to get most of what we need. We are going to need the hammer in this seed. We have to finish Ice Palace, and there are no glitches in HMG that let you bypass that requirement. That is the other place where we need a glove. We are in Palace of Darkness, which would usually require the hammer as well. However, I am pretty sure that both of our runners quite well know how to do Basement Clip, which is a rather complicated glitch requiring a bunch of single frame inputs or 2-frame inputs, that in the dark basement of Pod we can actually clip through the railing there, bypassing either the bow or the hammer requirement. Krithel also showed us nicely the hover from the bridge to right side Pod, skipping having to go around the bow locked side. It's, if you can get it first or second try, it's faster than just navigating normally. And Doomtap's finally showing us the rest of these water checks that we haven't seen from either of our runners today. A nice little bonk here puts us back out of swim state. Otherwise, when we leave the cave and leave the short grass, would have the same effect. Puts us back at the entrance, saves some frames. Ice is a pendant indeed, so we don't have to worry about hammer at all in this seed. Unless, of course, the big key for GT is on the left side of GT. I mentioned early that the requirements for the seed are to beat Aga 2, and there are checks on the left side of GT where that big key could be that would require us to still have that hammer. I looked at Krithel's tracker and saw the question mark. So, Waterfall Fairy is giving out free blue potions, nice for refills, and for overworld fake flutes if we want. We're probably not going to see any of them given that we have the real flute, although it can still be faster to navigate the dungeon. Navigate the world, sorry, like that. We're going to check out Zora here, and then see where Doomtap is going to head. Just 20 rupees from Zora. Krithel, meanwhile, clearing out Palace of Darkness. It would not surprise me at all to see the basement clip done by Krithel at this point in time. It saves us coming back to Palace of Darkness at some point later. If you are exceptionally fast with the clip, it can save you a bit of time than just going the normal way. However, it definitely saves you time if you don't have to come back to the dungeon later when you found the hammer. So checking all of these things first and then checking the basement second definitely is indicating we're going to head that way. Doomtap uses that glove to check the back of Escape, but we don't get anything to dungeon items, unfortunately. So Hyrule Castle front has most of what we're looking for. And so this is where, indeed, Krithel is going for the basement clip. We set up a Cane of Samaria block in our first Ancilla slot. We use the lamp, which causes it to fly off of screen. This is all after arming a spin speed. And by holding that invisible block into the doorway, we get super speed. It disappears off screen, despawning, releasing our hands. And now we have to do a few different bits. So first we're going to clip into this bottom ledge, and then we are going to teleport to this corner. We got some nice use of the net here to do the clipping. And now there's two ways. That is unfortunate for that turtle to be in the way there. Krithel are going to reset the room and go back and try and gather them turtles up to the top. So ideally we want all of the turtles at the top so they stay out of our way when we're doing this, because of exactly what just happened to Krithel. So after the teleport, we have a couple of ways we can do the second half of the glitch. Foxlisk in chat has really nice write-ups on their GitHub pages that I actually referenced in my races versus Sky yesterday to do it live as well. But there are two, one found recently by Requiem of Spirit, which is to use the Cane of Samaria to buffer some of the inputs, and actually makes it a lot more approachable in my opinion. And the second is just to do a lot of 1 to 2 frame movements, slowly inching us one pixel at a time into the into the barrier here until we are just low enough that we can bomb ourselves and dash straight through it. Looks like krithel got it all nice and quickly done this second attempt. We're going to dash through, and we can just dash straight up, a key dash as I learned last night, and head to Helmersword King. So the benefit of this is we've skipped the hammer requirement. The downside of not having the hammer is that we have to use bombs for Helmersword King, which, as long as you've got some practice with the fight, is not too bad. We did pick up the silvers, I think, in Palace of Darkness that I missed, so that makes the second phase of this nice and easy. So while we've been talking about all of this on Krithel's side, Doomtap has cleared up the water checks and is headed into Eastern Palace, finishing up navigating the dungeon, and is going to give Doomtap our second crystal, Krithel now on our third crystal of the match. So at this point, we are just looking for the Maya medallion and question mark on the hammer for GT. We might see one of our runners head to GT early to check out if we're going to need that hammer. It can be very useful knowledge to know if we have access to the big key already. So Krithel has wrapped the screen on Dark Death Mountain here, and we're going to go one of two ways. We're either going to head to GT, or we are going to head to the South Dark World, and no, we are heading to GT. So this makes a lot of sense. We've got the Fire Rod, we've got Cane of Samaria, we can check all of right side, Ice at Armos, and see if we find that big key. If we find the big key, we know we don't need the hammer. We've just seen Krithel do that basement clip, and we'll know that we don't need to look for it. And then from Krithel's side, all he's looking for is a sword and the Bombos medallion to get into Maya, although he doesn't know that yet. And then on Doomtap's side, if we get the basement clip as well, we're looking for both rods and that medallion to get into Maya. So there we find the big key in the first chest in Hope Room. We're going to check right side still here. Krithel is looking for probably more medallions and some better weaponry. Potentially also a small key, but we'll pick up the one in the pot key most likely. But that does mean that hammer is not required this seed, assuming we get the basement clip in. So the method of arming the basement clip with Samaria does require the lamp, which Doomtap does not have yet, but we are apparently heading to East Death Mountain to grab that right now. The other option is to use a YBA in the stairwell. Doomtap decides he does want the fourth bottle, and Krithel did pick up a Master Sword in Compass Room in GT. Depending on how things go for Doomtap, that's something that Doomtap may not get. Depending on when we go to GT, we find that big key, we might decide not to go right side. Yeah, nobody's saying it's basement clipping lampless, that's for sure. It takes a while, and there is a lot of setup to do. Getting that in a fire rod shot, I think, is a bit of a stretch. The second route with the YBA that I mentioned is much more relevant when you don't have the Cane of Samaria. So we're going to finish off Ice Armos here. We do have the silver, so this is a very quick fight. Doomtap is going to get their Fire Rod and their Lamp through this clear. On top of that Master Sword, Krithel does find a small key and the mushroom. So replacing that small key we did use. We'll check big chest here, and then the decision is whether we climb. So that's our other glove, potentially emits. We are not going to need them this seed. There's our fire sources for Doomtap, and Krithel decides that we're going to climb at this point. So this is a perfectly defensible plan. We're still looking for, on Krithel's side, potentially one of two medallions, although Krithel still hasn't checked the My entry requirements yet. And so we have to do this climb at some point. We're already here. We've got decent equipment. It makes sense to do it now. I think it's also perfectly fine to come back a bit later. It's a very quick clip to get into GT. And of course it puts you right there at the Ganon hole, so you might want to leave it last, but the items upstairs can be nice. Doomtap is following Krithel into GT. It's not going to have them silvers, but is in a much healthier place. It's actually going to get their tempered sword before they climb, which will make the climb a little bit easier. But hopefully we don't see too many issues on Krithel's side either. The silvers are going to more than make up for that, I think. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Krithel has a fairy in one of his bottles. No, he has 2 blues and a red, according to the tracker. Sorry, that's Doomtap's. Red, or just a single red on Krithel's side. Yeah, so we're seeing tile room from Doomtap here. It can be a bit of a slow check, but Krithel did skip it. If this is our medallion, that is go mode for Doomtap, minus the Ice Rod, which we'll get when we go to Palace of Darkness. This can also very often be a key, which may be required depending on your key layout if you're going full right side. Nicely avoids the hand there, and indeed we get a small key here. Krithel making quick work of our Wizrobes. Get torches and torches 2 out of the way, and then we'll start to see what we get up the top there. So this is going to be Tempered Sword for Doomtap. And not much else. We are going to continue to get at least this key, and most likely continue to Ice Armos, yep. Krithel grabs the Mini Helma key. Can be nice if we need to come back later and do left side. Let's hope we don't have Bombos there, so we can fully skip that hammer. Cane of Burner from our pre-Moldorm 2 room. Two spins in, and third spin takes down Moldorm 2. And we get red mail, so we're in a very healthy position. It makes death warping rather slow, but I don't think we'll be doing too much of that. So Doomtap does not have the silvers, so we're using Fire Rod strats on Ice Armos, just to get some of that done rather quickly. Interesting choice to burn some of our magic, but we didn't have enough arrows to clear out everything, so... Oh, we just missed the triple on the first Aga 2 phase there. Looked like a second double, so we've got 2 more hits to get. Which we get in. Aga's on the right side, on the left side in a nice position. We get the Clipe in, and we despawn that bat to end the cutscene early and save us a couple of seconds. Doomtap finishes the GT basement, grabs their mitts, and is also going to climb by the looks of it. So Krithel has not checked the pyramid. We'll likely see him going to check Pyramid Fairy at this point in time. Balmo's heart is going 100 mile an hour, while Krithel is also clipping a little too high on that first one. We don't have the flippers, so no risk of hard luck. there is a much safer way to do that clip by starting as low as you possibly can, and you won't screen transition at all, which prevents any risk of hard locking. So we get the Ether Medallion for Krithel out of Pyramid Fairy, gonna get a Fairy and our Tempered Sword as well. Puts our runners on pretty equal footing with just Krithel a Palace of Darkness clear up, and Doomtap having that final bit of knowledge about Misery Maya that Krithel doesn't yet have. So we're going to use another Fake Flipper on Krithel's side here to head to Village of Outcasts. This is going to, we're going to swim across here, clip through the terrain, and this is going to put us in the Hammer Pegs area. We're not going to be able to check Hammer Pegs, but we are going to then most likely use the hook shot to escape through this fence. 1 frame rate, and then a clean diagonal down left, and hook shot through. And we're going for that medallion knowledge straight away before checking anything in Vu or Skullwoods. Now, of course, Krithel doesn't know, but if we had one of those, if Misery Maya is one of those 2 medallions, then we are in go mode, but finds out that it is Bombos, and we need to find that medallion. So Doomtap is finishing up the climb, and then we're going to see where he heads. Krithel is very likely going to head to Skullwoods here. We don't have the mirror, unfortunately, so I'm not going to be clearing Desert Palace. But we're not going to be getting an item there anyway. We already got 2 items out of there, so that is definitely a full go mode dungeon. Krithel getting his mids, which is actually going to make getting to Vu a little bit faster if we go that way, but we're heading to Hype Cave instead. Just a slash and a spin for Doomtap to finish up Moldorm 2. Krithel are going to pick up their 3rd bottle at this point. Doomtap finally on Blue Mail. Where are we going to head from here? Krithel heading back west, probably to Vu this time. Oh, a nice save on the triple for Doomtap on the left side there. Just a double on the 2nd cycle. Into a nice 3-2-1 for Doomtap. Also gets a very clean clipe, waits for the bat to appear, gets it off the second it comes into existence. Saves probably the most amount of time I've seen saved with a clipe during that one. So Krithel, rather than using our mitts to go to Vu, we are going to clip up instead. We have just done Dig Game, so it's faster than the extra transitions going right here. Krithel is going to get all of their money, and Doomtap appears to be opening Palace of Darkness the intended way. In the vanilla game, we're going to go talk to Kiki, open up Palace of Darkness. The one consequence for Doomtap is we know that that Ice Rod is in Shootaroo, which means there is no choice for Doomtap other than to go right side at this point, because we're not going to be able to skip that first key door. It's going to lose a little bit of time compared to doing the hover, or potentially being able to skip it entirely. Yeah, so with right side having 2 smalls, if you are paying attention to your chest, you can just entirely skip right side. So there's that ice rod for Doomtap, putting him into just Bombos Go mode as well, assuming we get the basement clip. krithel is cleared up some of the checks that Doomtap did, and is going to head to Skullwoods. We're going to clear out the items there as well. krithel doesn't have them yet, and then head to Mothula, finish up the dungeon. So yeah, we see Doomtap here having to go right side. So if you know that if you're paying attention, there has to be at least 4 small keys in the front of pod, just to the way that the key logic works. And that means that if you find 2 non-small key items in the front of pod, and you haven't checked the right side at all, you know that the right side has to be 2 small keys. Now, we would normally skip a small key by doing the hammer yump and going straight to the big chest in the lobby there, in the long room there. But in this case, we actually wanted to exit that room, so we did need 1 of them extra small keys. And a quick death warp. We're never leaving this dungeon into the overworld, so the fact that we would technically be in Fate Dark World doesn't matter to us at all. We are just going to go clear out the rest of the dungeon. Not knowing how to count would indeed put you at a disadvantage of working out if you can skip right side or not, so... we get the big key. We're gonna grab these 2 and then head to the back as well. Probably route exactly the same way krithel did, ending with that basement clip into Helmersorking. We do just have the 8 bombs. Like I said, you gotta be a little bit careful in that fight with no hammer, but we should be fine. We'll pick up a couple on the way. krithel drops into the Mothula fight, misses the hits on the first dash there, gets 4 clean hits afterwards to make up for it. We get our silvers out of the big chest. We knew they were in pod somewhere. Yeah, indeed. In the discussion in chat, if we don't key skip, we don't open that free door. We need 1 of those 2 keys to be able to complete the dungeon. You either need the key to open up the basement door to go to Helmersorking, or if you're doing the basement clip, you want the key to open that small door that Doomtap just opened so that you can actually get out of it and continue in. But Doomtap doesn't have the key to open up Harmless Hellway. Hopefully realizes that that does mean it's got to be a key, unless there's 2 small keys here. We get 1, but the second one is not here. So we don't have to worry about that check at all. We reset the room to get them turtles to the top. Exactly the same as we saw krithel doing. We get that Samaria in the first Ancilla slot. And rather than using Bugnet, we're doing the manual clips, the select buffer clips here. We just saw krithel get the mirror out of King's Tomb. King's Tomb is a Sphere 1 check as well. We can just clip straight off the mountain to get there. Doomtap with the unbuffered 1-frame movements. Gets our final pixel in. Dash turns up and uses that bomb to get us through the barrier here. Nicely done. Clip through and dash all the way up. Quaking turtles, apparently. So we have a bit of a low bomb count, so we've got to be a little bit careful here. We've got a couple of mistakes we can make, but looks like we should be fine. Face tanking some of the damage saves us any concern. And Doomtap has plenty of health in their bottles. So, meanwhile, we've been going through Pod. Krithel has found that mirror and has now headed to Turtle Rock. We have come straight to Laser Bridge. This is a clip that is not in logic, but is perfectly legal in the mode. And I'm assuming we did that with the mirror that we just found to do the mirror wrap. There's both a mirror and a non-mirror way to do this. The benefit of this, especially with having the mirror, means we start at Laser Bridge, we navigate through the dungeon until we find what we're looking for. In this case, we want the big key and hopefully bombos. And when we're finished either getting our items or we make our way all to the front, we mirror, puts us straight back on Laser Bridge, and we go to Trinex. In HMG, the intended ways are either A, to go through the main entrance, which does not require mitts because we can clip up to the medallion panel, or we use a spin speed clip to enter one of the two middle entrances, which can lead to some interesting placements for things like Cane of Samaria. So we see Doomtap also potentially heading the same way. We do have that Ice Rod in hand, but we're going in the middle instead. Nope, we've changed our mind. We are going to open the front. We have Ether Medallion, so for Doomtap, the most likely reason behind this is after we finish off Trinex, if you don't open the front, you are stuck in the head of the turtle and you can't leave the area. If we open this with Ether first, A, we can either clear the dungeon from front to back. That can be a bit risky depending on the layout, or most likely we're going to use it to Scudge Woods afterwards, like we did at the beginning. This puts us straight at Skull Woods to be able to finish off Mothula and that extra crystal. I like this route. I did this in one of my races as well. Okay, so we get the big key in Compass Chest, I think that is. Krithel just tailing behind Doomtap, but is ahead in terms of the dungeon clear technically. I think we are gonna switch over to Krithel's audio, who does appear to be a bit ahead at this point. And we have Skull Woods finished, we're a bit further through Turtle Rock. Yep, indeed. We get Bombos there, and that puts us into Go mode. And that is both players in Go mode. We have finished Palace of Darkness. We don't need the hammer. We finished GT. It is a case of finish off TR and Maya for Krithel, and Doomtap has to clip down to Skull Woods afterwards. So Doomtap, I think, just deciding there that perhaps it's faster to just reclip, or we're going to do Turtle Rock after the fact. Oh, or did we get stuck with the key layout? Yeah. Exactly what I was saying about the risk of coming in the front instead of going into the middle is because of HMG allowing you to enter the middle, you can be expected to get those middle keys, those middle chests. And can mean you get locked out if you come into the front. So we're going to have to go back and do that afterwards. Desert Palace is the other dungeon that we do have to both clear. Find our flippers on Trinex, but they're not going to do anything for us today. So we switched from some Pokemon music to some nice Final Fantasy IX music here to for a while. Krithel does have the lead right now, especially with that mirror. Maya and Desert are going to be very quick clears. Doomtap can clip down to the rock there to hit the portal after doing Desert. We're going to see Krithel do this the other way around, do Maya first and then into Desert afterwards. So in this case, in Maya, we are just going to be looking for that big key. And as soon as we hit that big key, we are off to kill Vitreous. We don't need to do any of that traditional HMG logic, navigating through Maya into the other dungeons. We've already cleared Tower of Hera using Herapot, and we don't need to touch Swamp at all today. So Doomtap finishes off Desert Palace, is going to clip down to the rock, use the portal. Still faster, I think, than using the flute. Actually, I'm not sure if Doomtap activated the flute in the end. I can't remember if we've used it. Heading into Maya with that Bombos medallion. Okay, we are working our way through. We've still got a few chests left to find that big key in. Doomtap throwing the Cane of Samaria in the pit there, setting up for AD Spooky, nice and early, getting it done. And Krithel finds the big key there in the lobby chest. So we're going to head straight to the boss. If Krithel wants to set up AD Spooky, they can of course do that on the way to the boss as well. And Doomtap's going to be not far behind. So Krithel doesn't throw the Sumerian here, but can also do it in the next room with the switch. Krithel has Flute Spooky. This is unheard of in HMG. Of course he does. We don't have to worry at all. We've just got full regular Spooky to be able to use here. We get Spooky 1. So with the flute, we get the duck flying off at a particular height that sets our... oh, there we go. We do get it. It sets an offset that means when we fire the fire rod at something solid, it actually registers the hit a certain altitude higher, and that lets us hit the switches if we hit things in just the right locations. In this case, we hit the spike in the first room to hit the switch at the top, allowing us to then hit the anti-fairy in the second room for Spooky 2, hitting the switch, which is actually a screen transition above. Doomtap did not flute in, so we have to set up. So we have to hit the switch like this once. We can't use AD Spooky here. AD Spooky has a much higher altitude value, which means we hit the anti-fairy a lot lower here, but gets it nicely. And gets Spooky 3, I guess AD Spooky 2 quite nicely in that final room, saving the traversal up to the switch. Krithel has finished with Vitreous and is going to head into Desert Palace here. But is both the Skullwoods and TR clear up at this point in time? So Doomtap's most likely going to chain those together exactly as we saw him do Scudgewoods earlier. Head, kill Trinex, and then straight into Skullwoods. That is going to take a bit longer than this Desert Palace clear for Krithel though. 2 nice double kills on the pokies on Krithel's side. And we see Doomtap heading to Turtle Rock here. Krithel quickly taking down Lamolus with those silver arrows, ending with crystal number 7. And now it's a quick jaunt over to the Ganon hole, which is already open. We have killed Agatu already. We have the bow. We have the flute, so likely. Actually, I'm not sure what our best option is here. We already have a portal to the Dark World, so we're just going to clip and run by the looks of it. We can't go to Flute 5. We don't have the hammer, and our other option would be fluting to Link's house and using the portal there. So we don't have the hammer I was just talking about, so we're going to see that funny auto walk thing as well from Krithel this time. We clip almost all the way into the bridge, dash off into the corner, dash off, makes Link just screen wrapped enough that we can walk past the pegs and then transition across with a funny auto walk. With the flippers, it means you can get that first bit quite nicely if you're not too careful. You do not want to fully screen wrap though, because that can end up with a hard lock. Really nice background on Krithel's side, thanks to the glitches that we've done to get here, and we drop into the Ganon fight just after the 1 hour mark. Doomtap is heading to Trinex, and then is going to have to go clear out Skullwoods beforehand, before heading to Ganon. We get a nice first cycle from Krithel. Looks like we're on course to get the 1-on-1. Yep, Krithel can count. Did correctly count the number of attacks he got on Ganon. Doomtap makes quick work of Trinex, while Krithel proceeds to phase 3 of the Ganon fight. We have silvers, which means this phase 4 is also going to go past very quickly. Could have potentially just squeezed in a triple there going north, but gets a nice double. And arrow 4 in Ganon for Krithel to take the win on this one. So get your GGs in chat for Krithel. Takes this with an official time of 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 7 seconds. Doomtap has headed to Scudge Woods, as we mentioned we expected him to. It's gonna finish out the seed by the looks of it. This is a best of 3, so it's not over until it's over. We will have another at least one match to see from these guys, which will be on tomorrow at the same time, so we can tune in then. Meanwhile, we'll finish by watching Doomtap clear out the seed and see if Krithel wants to join us in the commentary booth. Yep, looks like we're going to get joined by Krithel in a second. And here we are, the winner of today's race, Krithel. GG's, Krithel.
Thank you, GG.
How did you feel about that in the end?
I mean, it was a pretty stressful back half of the seed. Just
yeah.
But I mean, you can't be unhappy with close to an hour. It was a quick one.
It was indeed a quick one. For those that don't watch too many of these, a more average finish would be close to the 1 hour 15, 1 hour 20 mark, sometimes dragging on a little bit more. So close to 1 hour seed is pretty impressive. So yeah, so Doomtap just finished out Skullwoods and is going to head to kill Ganon now. Going to take a slightly different route than you took. We're going to come off the mountain and clip there instead. You had kind of similar routes the whole way. One of the big differences early was that Doomtap decided to not go to East Death Mountain, and so didn't get the Fire Rod and the lamp, and instead went straight to Darkworld Death Mountain. Now, unfortunately, they decided to Scudge Woods afterwards, so if they had have got that Fire Rod, that would have put them in a really nice position. But unfortunately didn't.
Oh. Or if they just, like, at some point randomly gone King's Tomb and got that mirror.
Yeah, Doomtap did not get the mirror at all. So we do see Doomtap clip off the mountain here, and is going to drop into the Ganon hole without hula-hanning. I'm going to finish off Ganon. Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, it's one of those, you can really do King's Tomb anytime at HMG, as far as I'm concerned. I happen to get to loop it in with Mitts, which is the only really nice time to do it, but you can never really guarantee you're going to get that. So I'll often just do it if I need some time to think. But in this case, I didn't. And so I didn't get the mirror until it was not particularly useful.
Yeah, it saved you a little bit of time with the Desert Maya clear. Doomtap did have to clip down. I don't think we saw Doomtap use the flute. Of course, you used the flute to get into Maya, which meant you could use you could get a nice spooky 1 and 2. Doomtap did show us the AD spooky 2 and 3 we got as well, which was nice. Of course, neither of you found the hammer, so we saw 2 basement clips from you guys. Really nice bug net buffering from you.
Oh, I was so sad when I saw the turtle at the bottom, because with BugNet, there's just no way of really solving that. I hoped. Yeah. I don't really know what I was hoping. I should have just immediately reset it when I saw that, but I was living in hope.
Yeah, and get your GGs in for Doomtap, who is going to finish out the race with an official time of 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 53. So we do see chat telling us there that if you were paying attention to the credits, the hammer was just sitting on Uncle. Which I think it probably saved you time not going to Uncle in this one, completely skipping left side GT, not having to worry about it.
Yeah, it was quite nice being able to justify doing a really early GT play just to see if we needed the hammer. Like, there was a point in the middle where Go Mode was so in the air that you could just make plays to just determine what do we actually need, and GT was pretty nice in the end.
Yeah, and we are joined by Doomtap, our second racer. GG's Doomtap.
Hey, GG.
So I gave krithel a brief rundown, but I will give you the cliff notes as well. We had a very similar seed between the two of you guys. One of the unfortunate decisions for you was not doing East Death Mountain and going straight into Darkworld. East Death Mountain, not finding that Fire Rod, it would have run in really nicely with the Scudge Woods play. But you both kept kind of even for a long time. You, Doomtap, actually had the information about Bombos from Maya a lot earlier than krithel did. At some point, krithel was in basically medallion ?go mode, had got the ice rod from Pod, had done GT, knew we didn't need the hammer, had basement clipped just like you did, but didn't know that medallion for a while. But you guys were both in TR at basically exactly the same time, and then you unfortunately ran out of keys coming in the front.
I went in the front so I could Scudge Woods again to finish the off Skull Woods after, but didn't work out that way.
It didn't let you.
Yeah, I did exactly the same play in my race. I think it's a really nice route if you're going to pair in Skull Woods, but unfortunately going in the front, really can screw you with the keys.
I guess I could have opened the front and still went in the back or in the middle or something, but I don't know. I don't know what's better. But yeah, I kind of figured out that the Fire Rod thing was likely a big part of my downfall, because I felt mostly good about it, but also krithel had a seed yesterday where he finished in 57 minutes, and this one wasn't particularly hard, so I didn't feel good about it when I found the Bombos. Because I had a lock on my mind for a while, but I just didn't get there until late.
Yeah. Totally understandable. You were actually first to Bombos, if I'm not mistaken, but you guys were within 10 seconds of getting it between each other. And at that point, krithel was the Skull Woods clear up and had come from the back of Turtle Rock. And krithel got the mirror from King's Tomb, which you managed to skip, which meant you could just mirror after finishing the front of the dungeon to go back and just kill Trinex.
I love that for me. No, that was fine. I don't know. That was okay. I think that's just rando. That's nothing to complain about, I don't think.
For sure.
And like I said, we saw in the credits that Uncle is holding onto your hammer, which neither of you needed in this seed. Probably saved you time with not doing left side GT, but it's still a great HMG classic with a good item on Yeah, I think I don't have too much else to add. I don't know if you guys have any other comments on the seed or anything.
I don't think so. I felt mostly good, but a little bit bunglesome trying to get around certain places in the overworld where I don't know a lot of different clips. Like after Zora, I wanted to go up to East Death Mountain, but I didn't know the trick very well, so I just saved and quit and went there later.
Yeah,
I
understandable.
do that a lot. I just do what I know. Yeah, my overworld felt awkward in the Dark World just because like it was so nice when I got Ether and I thought, ooh, maybe we're going to get straight into Maya, and then saw Bombos and just had to bail out and mess around a load in the Dark World. But you can't really complain at a seed like this. It's about as nice as it gets still.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, Malmo reminding us if at the hour mark you're not fighting Ganon, you should be checking Uncle. You guys were fighting Ganon at that point, so you are forgiven for not checking Uncle, but just a quick reminder for everybody else. Yeah, so I think that is going to close us out in this one. So you guys, this is game 1 of 3 for you guys, potentially 3. Game 2 is scheduled tomorrow at the same time. We don't currently have a restreaming channel for that, so we'll see if one gets assigned to us. For today, we also have Amarith versus Gabriel y Campos on SpeedGaming 6 at 7 PM EST. So if you want to see more HMG goodness, you can head over there at that time. And I think that's it for the rest of us. So thank you guys for putting on a great show for us. Thank you, Holy Smoke, for tracking, and SpeedGaming for hosting us.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks for the restream, guys.
Yeah, take care, everyone.